So today, unless you had any specific questions, I figured we should probably start working on some Sicilians.
Okay,
Kind of
that
like,
sounds good. Yeah.
yeah, like continuing from earlier. We were working on your Carol Khan, and we discussed before, but you're playing like close Sicilian and maybe kind of like struggling with it a little bit. Um,
Yes.
so I feel like for you, trying some open Sicilians would be good for your chess development. I think it'd be very, very wise.
Yeah, I won't because I was having some problems with the Sicilian. Yeah.
Okay, great, great, great. All right, so we talked last time a little bit about how I feel like people should work on their openings. Basically, I think you should just try to learn a couple of ideas about a new line or new opening, and then play some training games, play some sparring games, and get some experience. Learn from those games. Try to learn more typical ideas and so on and so forth. And then eventually you get a handle for the theory and you can start building your repertoire. But I think it first comes from um, just having a lot of experience. Okay, so we're on this board. Obviously, there's a lot of Sicilians that black can play after knight f3. Um, if there's not one in particular you wanted to start with, I figured we could probably just start with the Najdorf because this is like maybe the most common, I would say, these days.
Okay. Let me. Okay, here's the classroom. Okay. The dragon. The
I was
you
thinking
talking?
either Najdorf, yeah, or Dragon.
Yeah, I heard the Najdorf is really good, but I never tried it before, so I don't know. The dragon, I saw some games, and then I was trying to play. I remember, uh, like in the tournament I played in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
I thought to play a normal dragon. I think I don't remember. It was like the against the guy who plays C4. You know, the Marozzi. I was
Mm-hmm.
trying to play a normal dragon, but because I didn't play before, I was not sure about it. But yeah, I think it would be interesting. Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about playing black, but I'm saying about playing white, like going for the open
Yeah. Sorry.
Sicilian.
Yeah. So yeah, I was playing the. Well, I have two. How you know? I play the close Sicilian before many times, and also I try to play the Alapin.
Mm-hmm.
So here knight f3 and then c3. But you mean? Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
get
thinking you should go for
yeah.
d4.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I yesterday I was playing a game in the chess boxing, and I played the close one and or Alapin, and he called me a coward.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Wow. Were you playing a chess player?
Uh, um, I think he was like uh 1800 on chess.com
Okay.
and 1500 FIDE, and we were
Uh,
playing chess boxing, and I played c3, the Alapin, and you are a coward, and I was like, what?
that's so funny. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's hilarious. 1,500 FIDE, but he already understands. Yeah. And then you had to box him after that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Nice, nice. Okay, hopefully you whooped him. So yeah, I mean, I think if you're an E4 player, Sicilian is going to be one of the main things that you're facing, and you do want to have a sharp weapon against it. The c3 Sicilian is not bad if you really, really like those structures. Close Sicilian also not bad if you really enjoy kind of playing it. But yeah, I think
Yeah,
like the most challenging approach is to play d4 and fight
yeah,
for the center. Yeah, directly.
and also I want to expand my knowledge of
Mm-hmm.
openings and repertoires, and I think it's important to learn more different ideas. So it sounds good. I can start playing D4.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's gonna help your chess a lot.
Yeah,
And you've seen a lot of chess before, so I don't think these positions are going to be super new to you. Also, you play the Sicilian as black, so you're already going to be familiar with a lot of themes just from the black side, but they're
yeah.
essentially the same ideas. So, um, yeah. Are there any Sicilians you in particular are afraid of or want to start with? Because of course you have to know like Najdorf, you got to know Taimanov, Khan, Sveshnikov, Dragon. There's a lot of lines, admittedly. There's a lot of different variations.
Well, I think if we start with the Najdorf, can be because I don't have any idea about
Najdorf's
this one.
good. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
Najdorf is very popular, so
yeah.
it makes sense. Sometimes I feel like everyone is playing Najdorf. Like it can be very, very common. Okay, so Najdorf basically begins after these moves. Of course, there's other options here like g6, knight c6. These are all moves as well. But a6. This is Najdorf. Do you know the idea behind a6?
Uh, okay. This was like many years ago. I
Mm-hmm.
heard something about this, and I don't remember.
Okay,
uh,
that's fine. No
it's
worries.
something about not to change the nights. Maybe I don't remember.
Oh,
Yeah.
basically, it's a very useful waiting move. So, um, originally, Black always wanted to play e5 in this position,
Yeah.
but the problem was not only is Black giving up like d5 and f5 square, but White can really fight for these squares in a very direct way with bishop b5 check. And here Black has to deal with this check, but the point is that either Black blocks their bishop and you get your knight to f5, or they go bishop d7 and then you can trade and put your knight on f5 anyway, where it's very strong. Of course, if we go back a step, if you were to just play knight f5 here, this would be really nice if Black didn't have this d5 response. So this kind of often ruins the fun for White. Right, but without this bishop on the diagonal, then d5, of course, is a lot weaker. So once they figured out, okay, e5, bishop b5 check, this is good for White, then I think they started playing a lot of e6. And then White realized against e6, this move is very dangerous, g4, also
G4.
known as the Keras attack.
Okay.
And yeah, so this one was found to be super dangerous because White just gets this very quick attack on the king side. You go g5, h4, you develop castle to queen side. Eventually, Black either leaves the king in the center or has to castle, but then your pawns are already super far advanced. So once they realize, okay, g4 is kind of really dangerous, then a6 became super popular because from Black's point of view, it's like, okay, stopping g4 for an extra move and
Yeah.
also preparing e5.
And how A6 stop G4?
Not really stopping it,
Okay.
but because you didn't play e6.
Okay, yes. And
So
the
White
bishop.
has to, yeah, make some move here. But for example, after bishop e3, if black plays e6, then white can already play g4 here if they want. Though of course it's very common to just play f3 first and then g4 later on. Okay, so that's kind of the idea behind this move. Basically just controlling this square and yeah, waiting for white to kind of develop somehow before deciding whether black wants to play e6 or e5. Like if white goes bishop c4, then black is definitely putting the pawn on e6 to kind of blunt the bishop. Black would not be going e5. Because then light squares would just be way too powerful, and white can probably go knight f5. This is always the question you want to ask, like, can black go d5 or not? If they can't go d5, like if you can just take it, then knight on f5 is probably good. But for example, if white played bishop e2 here, e5, then here knight f5, d5 is probably working for black because the knight is going to be hanging. So against bishop e2, e6 is a move, but e5 is also very, very playable, mainly because knight f5 is not really working for white, so white has to put the knight on a worse square, and then black can, develop their pieces and play this structure. So there's a lot of different structures within the Najdorf, and it's up to black basically to choose whether they want to play e6 or e5. These structures are very different. Like with e5, black is getting more space, but then of course they're giving up some light squares, so the tends to be a little bit more positional. With e6, black has kind of less space, but doesn't give up a lot of squares. But on the other hand, it's easier for white to push like f4, g4, and go for the attack. So these positions can be super sharp. Okay. So yeah, there's lots of different lines you can play here. One line that I've always liked is this move h3, where the idea is to just try to play g4 anyway. I've always liked this one because I feel like it's both kind of aggressive and strategic at the same time. Like a lot of times white is playing for the attack with g4, g5, but you can also, depending on what black does, play it very positionally, like with bishop g2, and then castling kingside, and then using your bishop on the long diagonal, using your space advantage, d5 square, and things like that.
It's like a waiting move, but also helping g4, how you say?
Yeah, I would say this one's not even a waiting move. I would say this is just you want to play g4. Like this is just going for the kingside expansion. Because g3 actually is also a move here. This one is considered a little bit more positional. Just with the idea of putting the bishop on g2 and castling, it's just a very reasonable setup, eventually looking for like knight to d5. But the advantage that h3 and g4 has is that you get to take more space, you get more g5 ideas, and also it's like more aggressive. Like in this line with h3, a lot of times you're actually going bishop e3, queen d2, castling queenside, and then attacking kingside. So I would suggest this one. Of course, there are lots and lots of moves, like bishop e3 is super popular, leading to these kinds of typical positions with f3, queen d2, and then castling queenside, usually called like English attack.
English attack. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why is called the English attack? You know?
Basically because it was named after some English players that played it in like the 80s and 90s, like Nigel Short and some other guys. But yeah, they kind of popularized this setup. But yeah, this one is of course very, very popular and been around for a while. So also very, very playable.
Okay.
But,
yeah. I think maybe we could check h3.
Yeah,
if you want.
I would definitely suggest this one because I think it's just as dangerous as bishop e3, but will definitely be less kind of studied by your opponents.
Yeah.
Although these days everyone is doing the chessable, so I'm sure I'm sure people are getting better. But yeah, main idea behind this move is you want to go g4, in some cases g5 to hit the knight, and take a lot of space on the king side. If black castles king side, like for example e6, let's say g4, bishop e7, this is a very typical approach. A lot of players will play like this. White can immediately just advance. Knight goes to d7, let's say h4. And here the idea is you're going bishop e3, queen d2, castles queenside, and then looking to
Yeah.
attack on the king side. So
Okay, because the pawns are already there. So yeah.
yeah. So it's just like a classic, I don't know if you've heard this term before, what we call a pawn storm.
Pawn storm. Yeah, I know. This is the first time I heard this.
I'm sure you've have like a similar, or you've heard a similar thing. But basically, you're throwing your pawns up. You're trying to open lines. You're trying to get both rooks in front of the enemy king, and you're looking for some kind of checkmate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Nice.
attacking chess. Yeah.
I like. Yeah.
If black doesn't castle, like leaves the king on e8, of course it's still unsafe, but then you might look for different ideas. So you might use the f pawn, like f4, f5, also very typical plan in this kind of position, to use the f pawn to try and open lines. You can still play for h5 and g6 as long as your rooks are connected, and if you open lines, open the h file, you can still get at the king. So in the meantime, black is going to be trying to get queenside counterplay like b5, bishop b7, knight c6, rook c8. So black has a lot of moves as well, but it takes him some time to develop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think like in the Sicilians, for example, here you are showing me the attack with the pawns, and the dragon is the same, right? The attack with the pawns.
Yeah, very similar. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the difference is the bishop is in g7.
Different structure,
Yeah.
but essentially it's like the same kind
The
of
same
position.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. And yeah, actually, it brings up a good point. Like the main kind of philosophy behind the open Sicilian, or the main thing I would say it's really important to understand, is that a lot of times black is making a lot of pawn moves in the opening. And strategically, black is doing really well because they have two pawns in the center, because they traded their c pawn for white's d pawn. And in the long run, black has a very nice position because they have better control over the center with more pawns. They have this open c file, which is always useful. Like all their pieces find good squares. So the drawback for black is that they have to give up a lot of time in the opening for development. So that's why white is often getting the initiative. That's why white has like these aggressive lines in the Najdorf and the dragon, like all these variations. White is often fighting for this attack because white gets active piece play in exchange for, let's say, long-term, better structural prospects for black. So this is the mindset you have to keep in mind. When you're playing the open Sicilian, you're playing an aggressive opening, right? You have to kind of use your development advantage, or you might end up worse in the future.
Yeah, I like that. And so for the end games, black has more chances because the pawn structure, right?
Yeah, a lot of times black is either very comfortable in the endgame or even just better, just because, the structure is favorable to black. You control the center, you have play on the queen side. And if white invests a lot of resources and then they push up all their pawns trying to attack, in the endgame, these pawns might just be weak, so that's why the Sicilian is also a great opening for black to play, playing for the win, because it's very combative. It forces white to be aggressive. Then if their attack doesn't work out, then black overtakes the initiative and starts to be better. So yeah, basically when you're playing the white side of these positions, you really have to play with a lot of energy in terms of the attack.
But that is not the same, to try to be aggressive in this uh, openings like the Sicilian, because I think has to be aggressive, because if it gives enough time to white to open files or to attack, it is lost. But I don't know. Like,
Yeah, there's like different positions and different structures, so it can kind of depend. Actually, many positions are very strategic, and it's like
okay.
black is the one that's attacking, but they've now given up the strategic advantage of their position. So, for example, like the Sveshnikov, I think is a good one. We just take a look at this one real quick. Oops, knight f6 here, e5.
I was playing that with black, and there
Oh,
is a
cool.
line. There is a line. I don't remember, but I was lost many times. Yeah.
So, yeah, this is an opening that's considered like very aggressive from black's point of view. Like black is often getting activity because they've given up this d5 score. So here it's like roles actually kind of switch a little bit. It's like black is giving up the long-term strategic advantage because, of course, this d6 pawn, this d5 square, these are long-term weaknesses. But in exchange, they get activity. That was kind of always the idea of black's position, is that yeah, there's even a line here where white like takes, black has to take with a pawn, and yeah, they get these like long-term pawn weaknesses, but in exchange they get very active dark squared bishop, kingside play, open g file, and yeah, well, it's a basic example of double-edged position, right? So kind of sharp for both sides. So of course it really depends on the structure, who's like the one that's more having to be more aggressive, playing for the attack, or just trying to be positional. Actually, there are many lines in the h3-Najdorf where, let's say if black plays e5 here, which is also super common. One idea is for white to bring the knight back to e2. And then the point is that you want to go g4 and knight to g3. So these days, a
Okay.
lot of players play h5, but if they don't do this one and they just develop like bishop e6, for example, bishop e7, then white's going g4, bishop g2, knight g3, and actually just kind of playing for more of like positional squeeze, because you have f5 square, you have d5 square, and your knights can kind of hop in and just totally dominate the position.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Sorry, did you have a question?
No, I understand. Thank you.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So, of course, the character of the game is always going to be dependent on the structure of the position, but yeah, in general, this one is kind of an aggressive one, especially if black goes e6. Then, yeah, we're launching g4, pushing g5, h4, bishop e3, queen d2, castling queenside.
Okay.
And yeah, playing for the attack.
And okay, and there is some like move the the black wants to play. For example, uh, I don't know if I'm wrong, but in the dragon, like the ideal move for black is to play d5. I heard that before, but maybe here something like, what is the dreaming move, or I don't know, a square they want to get.
Yeah.
It,
Well,
it,
no, it's a very good question. Black has honestly a lot of ideas. So, like in the dragon, d5 is a typical break for black that they often try to get, either with e6 or with e5 and then d5 as well. Though of course it's harder once they've committed to e5. Another idea is that they're trying to play for b5, b4. So a lot
yeah.
of times b5 is met with a3, which is a tempo, but it stops b4, which can be very, very annoying if you have to move the knight, and then e4 pawn can hang. And then in the long run, of course, the rook is coming to c8, and then, yeah, black can be looking for like rook takes c3 sacrifices. You got to be careful, and b5, b4 ideas again with the rook on maybe the b file. But yeah, this d5 break, I would say in the Najdorf as well, is also going to be the big one. Of course, there's a lot of lines. For example, black could play d5 here, for example. And I think generally white is taking this one. Knight takes. And I think main move here is knight e2.
Oh, that.
Which is kind of a funny move, but the idea is you're defending the knight on c3, and if black takes this one, then you get this endgame, which I think is going to be pretty pleasant for white, because your bishop on g2 is going to be very strong, putting pressure on the queen side. It's almost like a Catalan now. It's not even like open Sicilian, it's basically Catalan. And like dark square bishop can come in, you can castle queen side, and yeah, black's king isn't super well placed here.
Knight e2.
Yeah, that's kind of a nice move with the idea to follow up like bishop g2. In fact, even if, let's say, black plays here, which I think is pretty common, bishop g2, let's say black takes this one, you take here, king takes, and knight c3. Even some endgame like this would be very nice for white, even though you have these weak pawns, but your dark squared bishop, your b file, like your rooks and bishops would be super strong.
The pair of bishop compensates this. Okay.
Yeah, big time. Not just the bishops, but also like your rooks get active very quickly. You know, black is still kind of behind development, has to figure out where to put the king. Like king c7 runs into bishop f4. So it's not easy. Otherwise, you're going rook b1, a4, castles, rook d1. And yeah, just kind of a sample position to give you an idea of what you're kind of looking for in this line, or what you might get.
Okay.
But let's go back. Of course, these are just kind of random variations.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, like I mentioned, if e5, you have some options. You can go knight e2, and then try to get the knight to g3. Bishop goes to g2. So just for example, like bishop e7, g4, bishop e6, bishop g2. Then typically here white will castle kingside, knight g3. And here you're actually playing this kind of strategically because you have this nice f5 square. And, yeah, in general, when black is going e5, you're kind of starting to play this more positionally with your knights, just trying to use these squares. Maybe g5 too.
If I get to play knight g3 and then knight f5, and he decides to take the knight with the bishop, with which pawn should I take? Or what is more common, maybe?
No, that's a great question. That definitely comes up a lot. So let's say like castles, knight d7, knight g3, rook c8, just for example, knight f5. So something like this, right?
Yeah.
So in most cases, ef.
ef, okay.
Yeah, almost always. Because you want to open up your bishop. Your bishop is now, of course, much stronger. And you can control these squares on e4 and d5. And of course, now you have this this g-pawn push still to attack.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this would be great for white. This is like white is like dominating the light squares and totally crushing.
Yeah, it's dominated for the bishop and the knight. Yeah, because otherwise we'd be like a strong center if we let the black to go to d5 or things like that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right, let's see. So I want to give you just a couple like sample positions just to show you kind of like some typical ideas. Just
Okay.
give me a sec to open up my database here. I was thinking I could show you instructive game, if that's cool.
Okay.
Just to kind of like highlight some typical ideas. Yeah, this is a good one. Okay. This is a game played by Nepomniachtchi, actually several years ago. But he's been a long time proponent of the h3-Najdorf. He's played this one a bunch. I think he was one of the earliest GMs or top GMs to pick it up. Oh wait, sorry, lost the cams. My bad. There we go.
So Nepo against who?
He's playing this player named Zabotin, who's about 2,400, so probably title player. So in this game, Black played e6,
Oh, okay.
g4, and here Black went h6. This is a pretty common move. Black just stops g5 and then wants to develop normally from here. But the drawback of this one is that eventually when Black castles, this is always going to be a big hook for White, and White can use this to open lines.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so it like
That's
stops
nice.
g5, but yeah, in the long run, it's annoying for Black to castle. So in this game, he goes bishop g2, which is pretty normal, queen c7, bishop e3, knight c6, and f4.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, typical play for White. Just taking a lot of space. He wants to develop the queen next, and then probably castle queenside. And then yeah, now he's ready for as soon as Black castles kingside, like he's just going to open stuff up. So bishop e7. Nepo goes queen e2. And now Black plays kind of typical operation. Knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, and e5. So trying to fight back in the center. If Black had castled, then White has a lot of options. You know, one idea is just to play like h4 and g5. Or you might start with like bishop f3. Because maybe on h4 sometimes this again can be annoying. Like this, e5 and this one hangs and bishop hangs. And yeah, this can be super unclear. Who knows what's happening? So it can be wise to like start with bishop f3, but then you prepare h4, g5. And the point is you want to take back with the h-pawn so that you can play queen h2 and just deliver checkmate. Which
yes, it's scary.
So yeah, so this is super, super dangerous. So yeah, so Black takes, and this is a common exchange because it kind of simplifies the position a bit, and then it feels like White has kind of less attacking power. But okay, bishop drop back, takes, and yeah, White prefers this structure, right, where you can put pressure on the d pawn, versus something like taking on e5, because then Black would have a very nice pawn on e5, and this would be kind of better for Black. So bishop e3 takes. Black played bishop
like
e6.
more.
Yeah, because here you actually have something to target. Castle's queenside. Knight d7. Okay, now very important move, knight d5. So basically using this square, Black has to take. I mean, you can't really let this knight sit. E takes d5.
Yeah.
Normally, actually, or in many cases, you'd want to take with the rook because you want to like put pieces on the square and pile up on this pawn. But in this exact case, the open e file is very annoying for black, so that's why he's going e takes d5.
Okay.
So black goes knight e5, which is very logical. Just trying to plug this e file into that black can castle. But now Nepo just has a very simple approach here that I really liked. He just takes, and he goes h4. So now I'll ask you the idea. What happens if black just castles? How would white continue from here?
I think g5. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wait. G5. Takes, and takes with check. Also, d6 sounds good because if he takes with bishop in d6, I go g5, and he cannot take my pawn of f. Sorry, g5 back like because right now he can take with bishop and check, but if the bishop is in d6, cannot. I don't know.
Yeah, that's okay. No, you're 100% on the right track. So yeah, white wants to break with g5 and open lines against the king. But yeah, concretely how to do this, actually, you could start with d6 or this one. I do like this one and then d6. So here, for example, let's say takes and then push.
Oh, okay.
Combining the ideas, yeah.
Yeah.
Black has to take and then hg. And we get this position where white's threatening queen h5, bishop e4, bishop d5. I think you have a ton of moves. You know, let's say g6 just for example. How would you continue here?
One moment. Someone is knocking the door.
That's fine. If you need to take a break, that's totally okay.
It's okay. I think it's okay. I will open in a minute. Okay. So queen d3, attacking the bishop on d6.
Mm-hmm.
And if he moves the bishop or the rook, attack defending, I can play queen h3, threatening checkmate. I think king f8, and he can escape, right?
Mm-hmm. Let's try to look a little further.
Okay. So I just check king f8, queen h8 check, king e7, queen f6 check. Oh, okay. King d7. And then I think I have bishop h3 check can be one option, or much better I think is queen takes f7. Yes.
Let me ask you just how do you evaluate that position?
Yeah, I mean, like with white is much better. Like I prefer white because is I think like almost checkmating, and the king doesn't have many squares to go, so I can consider bishop h3 or, or queen takes f7, and then I can take the other pawn on g6, and this g5 pawn can maybe promote if we don't checkmate. I don't know. Yeah.
No, it's fine. I mean, basically, like you recognize, okay, black's king is running around. You have a million good options there, so you don't even have to necessarily calculate all the way through. You just have to recognize, okay, this is because, yeah, from here it's like this is already enough to play g5, d6, and sack a pawn, but go for this vicious attack.
Very nice.
Yeah. But yeah, this is definitely super strong. Just bringing the queen to the h file and setting up these mates. And if bishop e7, what would you do here?
Oh, bishop f7.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just go queen h3. And then if bishop takes g5 with check, I just move my king to b1.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm threatening two checkmates in h7 and h8. So I think the only move can be f6, defending with the other queen.
Mm-hmm.
And I just check on h8, and then when he moves the king to f7, I bring maybe. Oh wait, I just check with the queen in h7, and then I take the queen.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty simple. F6, I think bishop d5 also. Always
Yeah.
good. Cutting
Yes,
off the
yeah,
king.
that's better, I think.
But black does have a move here. I think they can go. They
Oh
can
yeah,
escape.
it can escape with bishop d5. Like
Here after king b1.
after king b1 can escape. I don't think so. As maybe I don't see it.
Well, there's a typical way to run out. King g7.
Oh yeah, king g7. Yeah.
Just try to hide.
Yeah. Yes.
But
Nice.
still feels like nice nice position for white. You can start with this one.
Oh.
First you have this.
I think that one, d7, is nice.
Yeah, for example here. Not sure where black goes. Somewhere.
And check now, maybe.
Check. Mm-hmm.
And check. Yeah.
I got a block.
Check with the queen.
Okay, hold on. There's then king will.
Yeah.
But there's lots of moves. Yeah, maybe this one. Yeah. Usually, when you're attacking with opposite color bishops, it's pretty brutal.
How he would defend that, I don't know. The king is so exposed, like king g5 or f5. So, yeah, I don't know. A bishop takes, maybe?
This looks fine. I think this works too. This looks, I mean, should be winning. This is kind of funny. If queen d5, there's rook g1 with a mate.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, right, but I think bishop f7 is pretty clean. And then black's queen has to defend this. I mean, I don't know, queen b6 maybe. But
And then,
should be knockout here.
He can take the bishop, the pawn with bishop takes.
Yeah.
g6.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and then has the pawn back. Check. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is just kind of sample variation, but it shows like when you get this kind of attack against the king, it's very hard to survive. And yeah, this line that you calculated, I think totally correct as well. Like you have this and then queen f6 check. And here you have lots of moves. So like from afar, it's like not even necessary, I think, to calculate because you have so many ideas like rook h7. You know, it's like once you get here, you can figure out what to do. Bishop takes b7 is a move.
Oh.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, this is a move, right? It's like so a lot of options at the end.
Yeah.
Right,
See.
so yeah, it's like although despite all the trades, after h4, black's position is surprisingly difficult because if they castle, g5 is just coming, and yeah, the king is getting totally opened up. So in the game, black didn't play castles, played bishop d6 first, trying to kind of defend against this. But now bishop e4. And yeah, basically, as soon as black castles, white is just throwing g5 down and getting
And
ready
if
to
he
open things up.
decides to castle to the queen side,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely possible. But then it's like white still plays for the attack. So like rook h3, and
Nice.
you just lift your rooks over, and it's super annoying for black.
Yeah.
But this was
Nice.
definitely playable, or at least possible. Though still yeah, is very hard to manage. So black played queen a5. King b1, simple move. Always go king b1. Rook c8. Rook f1. And it's hard for black. If they castle, then even here, just g5 again just is too strong. But in the meantime, white's just building up pressure. Okay, queen d8, queen f2 was played.
Okay.
Rook c7. Basically, all right, black was just kind of under the defense for rest of this game. But I like how Nepo broke through. Rook d3. Rook f8. Rook f3. And here is just piling up. So here it's important to recognize it's like, okay, it's still Sicilian, but now it's like the character of the game has switched, right? Now white is just slowly building up. Black doesn't really have any counterplay in the position. Only weakness c2 is very nicely defended. You know, white's bishop just kind of dominates everything. So yeah, white is just slowly piling up all the pieces and eventually going to orchestrate some kind of breakthrough.
Yeah, and there are many tempos, like to try something with the pawns here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, white has a lot of moves left. So black played queen e7, rook f5, rook c4, queen e2, b5, and now g5. Now, okay, just orchestrating this break and looking for g6 as well. So okay. Take. Like trade queen a7. Bishop d3. Rook c7. And okay, white to play. How would you continue?
I'm thinking like in queen h5. But I don't know. Yeah. Also like a sacrifice, but I don't think it's a good time yet. Like in e5, rook takes e5, bishop takes, yeah, queen takes, and then rook e7, and is attacking my queen. I can take the pawn of g7, but I quite not like too much this. And also taking f7 with the rook. I don't know why, like, they didn't do before, but I think right now, like, it's neither a good time because rook takes f7. I think rook takes f7 and then bishop g6. But it can just move the king to d8
Mm-hmm.
or f8, and he's losing a piece. I feel there is something, but I cannot see it.
Okay, another move that makes sense is g6.
I didn't want it because I feel like it close with f6.
Yeah. I mean, it's playable. So here you would kind of switch directions a bit. So maybe bishop comes in and
Yeah.
either white plays here or even like starts playing on the queen side, like trying to bring the rook to b3. So white would have kind of long-term advantage, but yeah, that's not what happened. No, Nepo, he just snapped. He just took care.
Oof. Yeah.
Because this position, let's say he evaluated a little bit more optimistically. Because it's just like, okay, material is about equal. You got the bishop and two pawns. But white's king is, of course, super safe. Black's king is still very weak. And it's also just hard to move for black. Like, rook is hanging. Now you have d6 ideas. g6
d6.
as well somewhere. So basically, the situation is just very, very tough for black.
Okay. Yeah. That g6 is strong. Yeah.
So you, of course, saw this idea, but just didn't like fully evaluate it, which is fine. But let's just see how it played out. So queen c5. White played queen f6. So threatening this and also threatening this one. So black took. Now takes. And now bishop is attacking from this angle, and of course these pawns are going to be super strong. So rook e5 was played. g6, he hits from this angle. And yeah, it's clear that the king just isn't going to survive this. f5, g7, rook g8.
He's switching.
Yeah, basically,
angles. Yeah.
like principle of two weaknesses. And then last little trick here, bishop takes f5.
Oh.
He's got takes queen c8.
Oh, yeah.
And then just up a million pawns. So black tried takes this, but game ended after check, check, and this was the last move. Kind of nice, like king f6 or king e7, queen f6, and then all the rooks
By
hang.
rook.
Yeah,
Yeah,
rook
by
d1. Just everything is just everything is
by queen,
completely
by
lost.
rook.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a very beautiful game. Like, so he didn't want to castle because he knew the attack with the pawns. So, no, I don't know. Bu- Just build the attack in the center.
Yeah, exactly. Like black was never able to get the king out because g5 was always coming. So remember we mentioned like h6, in the opening it stops at g5, but then in the long run, it's always a big problem for black in these positions, even with not many pieces on the board anymore. Yeah, I feel like it's a good illustration of this line because it's like it shows, okay, it's a very aggressive line, but a lot of times you do have to kind of handle it more strategically. Like here, a lot of the game was just white building up, like queen f2, rook f1, rook f3, eventually rook f5, g5, king b1, like preparing this breakthrough and yeah, using the advantage. So of course that's a very important part of chess as well.
Yeah, because here they are like different bishops, like colors of bishops,
Hmm.
and you can think like maybe it's draw. We just need to trade queens, exchange queens, and that's it. And this was in a classical game,
Hmm.
or oh, so it's very nice.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
No, in
very
the middle game, yeah, the opposite color bishops can be just deadly. Like here, white has, I think, just a long term strategic advantage. Even in the end game as well, I think white would be better. But yeah, in the middle game, it's particularly unpleasant because, yeah, it's hard to find safety for this king.
yeah. It's not safe neither in the king side, neither in the center, neither in the queen side.
Right.
Nice. Yeah.
Um, okay. So, all right. Well, this was just one game, one example. Of course, in the Najdorf, there's many, many um, different options. Um,
Yeah.
let's
Okay.
see.
Yeah. S- so you say after e5, I can go back to e2, right?
Yeah, if e5, then I think knight e2 would be the
Yeah.
move. And then trying to play g4 and knight g3.
Yes. Yeah. Was just checking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this one is very typical as well.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to try this line and see what happens. I'm going to play Blitz with the chat. I don't know if the chat learned.
If they're ready. No, that's a great idea. Yeah, I think that's exactly how you should do it. Now you have some prospect. Okay, make sure your chat plays Najdorf so you at least can start from this position, right? And then from here, people can try whatever they want, and yeah, just
Yeah.
play some games, see how it goes, analyze the games, see where maybe you could have done better. Um,
Yeah, maybe a stream. I can try to play just Niders with the chat. So yeah, are you going to stream more, Kostya?
no, I
Or
think that's it for me. I got to get back to coaching for the Pan
okay,
Ams. They got
okay.
some more rounds, but this was fun. Hopefully
Yes.
that was useful. I hope you start crushing some Nidorfs.
It's really good. Yeah, I appreciate that. I love
Absolutely.
these lessons. So thank you so much.
Great. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think it was useful for others as well, looking for
yeah,
a weapon against the Nidorf. I think this one is still kind of, especially lower levels, not super common. So I think people won't be super aware of it. But yeah, hopefully it goes well, and then we can continue some more Sicilian
yeah,
stuff in the future. Get you ready.
yeah. Yeah, thank you, Kostya. Thank
All
you
right,
so much.
sounds good.
And
Okay.
everyone goes and follow Kostya ChessDojo Live is his channel.
Thank you. Thank you.
And yeah, he does really cool stuff and he's really good coaching. So check it out.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
All right. Have a
Thank
good
you.
one. I'll see ya.
See you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.